What's up, B.N.H family? Back again for part 2 of a 3-part reaction. Courtship of rivals, Magic and Larry. So I really enjoyed that. That first 30 minutes, man. That was awesome, man. It was deep. Larry. Larry had a rough upbringing. Losing his father at a young age, man. That had to be real tough. Watching him, especially watching him just struggle and suffer with that, with a lot of mental issues, dealing with the war and all that. Magic Johnson's whole story about being bused to go to like all white school, dealing with a little, discrimination, and it's like they were just like destined to be each other. They came from like 2 different worlds, and they just, and they kept meeting up. They met up in high school. See, I never knew that. They met up in high school and played with each other on some type of little tournament. Then they met up in college and played, against each other. It's awesome, man. It was just, I don't know, that's God's work right there.
People, that didn't mean he didn't have it.
He did, however, allow the public one small indulgence.
You could come out on Saturday and watch him mow his lawn.
Huge crowd started to stop. Larry Bird's cutting grass in front of his house. So he's mowing his lawn in the springtime.
Larry is about doing things himself. And I think it's one of the things that made him so beloved in Boston.
But as Bird navigated through his new world, he still had one eye fixed on a familiar foe in a faraway land.
What tripped me out was I'm riding in the limo, and I'm seeing orange trees and lemon trees in people's front yards. I said, stop, I gotta go pick an orange. Are you crazy? I said, no, I gotta do this. And so I ran up like a scared little kid, grabbed the orange and ran back to the limo. I'd never seen an orange tree. I'd never seen a lemon tree. I was fascinated.
When 20-year-old Irvin Johnson arrived in Los Angeles in the fall of 1979, he was a world away from Lansing, the only home he'd ever known. He was the #1 pick of the LA Lakers, a once dominant franchise stuck in mediocrity. In the stoic Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the Lakers had talent, was energy. Irvin Magic Johnson was only too happy to provide it.
Lit the place up, changed the franchise, changed the temperament. I changed it from the very first game.
Skyhook up and good. Lakers win.
Here it was, the first game of a long season against the lowly Clippers. And Magic was embracing Kareem as if they'd just won their 10th straight championship. It was like, man, this is a different kind of dude.
From the day he arrived, he became the prince of the city. He reminded me of a guy who wakes up without an alarm clock, and that's what I used to always say. I want to be happy enough to wake up without an alarm clock because I want to go into my world.
He had it, what it is. As far as I was concerned, the it was not his ability or his size. The it was his attitude, was his leadership, was his mind. I mean, I don't have to talk about Game 6 at Philadelphia.
Magic Johnson will jump.
In his rookie season, Magic had helped lead the Lakers to the NBA Finals against the Philadelphia 76ers. In Game 6, with an injured Abdul-Jabbar back home in LA, Magic played all 5 positions, scored 42 points, grabbed 15 rebounds, and dished out 7 assists, leading the Lakers to the championship.
Wow.
In just 4 years, he had won titles in high school, college, and the pros.
Magic, what do you have that makes you perform like this in these championship games?
Well, I don't know. It's just I love to win.
Across the masthead of the Los Angeles Times the next day, it said, "It's Magic."
He was a star when he first arrived here, coming off the NC2A game. And quickly, during that first season, he became one of the stars in town. But that game put him on another level. That made him the star in town.
It's funny how I wanted to meet the celebrities, but they wanted to meet me. I was like shocked. Like, wow, you know who I am?
He was young, famous, and after Lakers owner Jerry Buss signed him to a 25-year, $25 million contract, very rich. The kid from Lansing was ready to sample a different kind of fruit. His playboy boss knew all the ripest trees.
I said, oh, I'm hanging with him. When they were coming into the box and he had 10, 20 of them, and look, Irvin, which one you want? And I was like, oh, okay, it's like that? And then he said, I'm gonna take you to the Playboy Mansion. What? The mansion? No, you're kidding. I said, yep.
Man, it ain't, them days is gone, man. You couldn't even do that type of shit nowadays without all these cameras and social media, you know what I'm saying, all up in your business, and you know, it was a different time back then for sure. The owner was cool, you know, he was like, man, let's go to the Playboy Mansion, and man,
so I went there.
That's a hell of a welcome.
My first time, I'm backing up like, I can't believe I'm in, but I'm backing up away, you know, it's like, I'm scared to death. Probably 10 guys to 100 women, you know. Everybody think it's sex driven, but it's really not. You have dinner, then you watch the latest movie. And then, of course, I don't want to ever say that sex wasn't involved, because if you meet somebody, that's what you wanted to do. You did
we
that.
know.
But it's really a great experience to go up there. So, yeah, I had fun there.
He came to L.A. like the Pied Piper.
I bet.
You know, people were giving him this and giving him that. But, you know, he stayed pretty grounded to the game.
Everybody was getting high then, but you can't even smoke a joint around Magic.
He had real old school, down in the trenches work ethic. And that was honed in him by his dad, Irvin Johnson Sr.
Magic was always this guy. You know, he never did none of that, so I did everything for him.
Magic Johnson was living on a natural high. He was starring in the role of a lifetime, point guard of a Hollywood team with an offense called Showtime. He even had the alter ego perfect for the production.
I mean, Magic was his stage name. Even he would laugh about it.
Well, he always says there's two people. There's Irvin Johnson from East Lansing, and there's Magic Johnson from Hollywood.
Irvin Johnson is another guy. You know, here's Magic over here and here's Irvin over here.
Irvin is this fun-loving guy. Magic was so serious and dedicated to his game, and he was a crazy, crazy competitor and a crazy man.
Irvin, I think, is the smiling kid from Lansing. I think Irvin died about 25 minutes after the NCAA championship game.
Irvin doesn't have the ego that Magic has. Magic got a crazy ego, and winning is everything.
And Irvin wanted to, along with Magic, conquer LA.
After having led the Lakers to 2 NBA titles in their first 4 years in town, Magic and Irvin were well on their way.
I think Magic wanted to be friends with Larry Bird. He wanted to be friends with him on the World Invitational Tournament, and Larry just wasn't very receptive. I think he wanted to be friends with him during the Final Four. Larry wouldn't even go over and shake his hand. So now Magic's saying, well, what's with this guy? Everybody loves me. How come you don't love me? And then they get to their rookie year, the first time they play each other, well, they have a very hard foul. And they have to be separated a little bit. And Magic's like, all right, well, the heck with this guy. You don't like me? Fine. All right, good. I don't like you either.
You know, he's a very competitive player, and I'm a very competitive player, and we go head to head, and we go for blood almost.
The vibe was nasty. It was ugly. It was we didn't like each other.
I'm the one that did all that, to tell you the truth. I just don't want to be hanging around him. I mean, that was my main competition.
And he couldn't escape the memory of losing to him in 1979.
At least he honest.
Oh, it ate at him bad that he didn't win that national title against Magic. That was something, it just burned him.
It was one thing for them to be in the 79 championship. Magic had the better team. Everybody agreed with that. Magic had the better game. Fine. Now you get to the pros. Larry has this incredible year.
Bird, a runner. It's good.
But there he is, watching in a club while Magic Johnson wins a championship, and he's thinking, all right, I'm behind 2-0 now.
I watched that game, and I couldn't believe it. I always wanted to play at that level.
But what Bird couldn't possibly have known was that he had inspired Magic's performance when he was named Rookie of the Year earlier that same day.
The PR person from the Lakers says, hey, Irvin, the Rookie of the Year voting has come out. And Magic says, okay, well, who won? He said, well, Larry Bird won. And Magic says, well, was it close? And he said, oh, no.
Wow.
He went out that day, yes, to try to win the NBA championship, but also to prove it to one Larry Bird. You know what?
He took it personal.
I should have been Rookie of the Year.
Even though I won the championship, I still wanted to win the Rookie of the Year too.
He won that championship. I was pissed. I want him one.
But even after he had won one the next year, his obsession only grew deeper.
I'd get up in the mornings and see what he did because their games came on late. Then you look at the box score. I had to have him there for some reason. It's like a crutch, somebody I can compare myself to.
I hated what was being said that Larry was better than me, and I'm just a guy who can control the game. My first 4 or 5 years, that bothered me a lot. I didn't tell nobody it bothered me, but it did.
Their competitive dislike emerged from a greater truth, that on the court, they were doppelgangers. Team-oriented stars who cared about winning above all else. Basketball savants who fused the substance of the 60s with the style of the 70s to create a new and exciting, yet selfless way to play the game in the 1980s.
Yeah, I'm going to pass. But I'm going to pass in a way to make you look like a jackass. They were so similar in the way they competed. I mean, they were two halves of the same brain.
Same craziness to excel.
I seen that first couple days I was with him.
Basketball IQ off the chart.
Seen the game a little different, most players.
Playing the game the right way was everything.
A lot of guys can just score, a lot of guys can just rebound. A lot of guys can just make plays. We can do it all.
Larry and Magic could control the game with 12 shots. It was amazing. They'd be 7 for 12. They'd have 20 points, 15 rebounds, and 12 assists. And you go, man, the guy shot the ball 12 times and was the best player on the court by far.
But I think it was tough at first. I don't think either one of them wanted to recognize that they had any equal.
Yeah, like, you see that he took 12 shots. That's big because it's like, even though you say, oh, he only scored like 20 points, but like, okay, take a player like, let's say like Westbrook, you know, he averages like triple doubles, but he's taking a lot of shots. You know what I'm saying? He's missing a lot of shots that actually hurt the team. You know what I'm saying? And like, and the turnovers. So you're not being efficient. But like what they just said, like he's 20 points on just 12 shots. That's hella efficient. With 12 assists, that mean you're getting your team involved. You know what I'm saying? Y'all playing as a machine. It's tough to beat that. It's tough to beat that.
Anywhere in what they did, but they sure as hell didn't want to recognize that their equal happened to be that other guy.
That's why we hated each other too, because we knew we were mirrors of each other.
I think for a while the two of them had to come to grips with that.
They had begun changing the game, but with continued low television ratings and tape-delayed finals, the league was struggling to get the word out. When the NBA and CBS signed a new TV deal before the 82-83 season, the rescue plan was simple: sell more Bird and Magic, and sell them not just as ball players, but as arch-rival characters in their own dramatic saga.
You got this slick Showtime African-American guy out west, and you got the lunch bucket, floppy-haired white guy with the bruises all over his body. It's central casting. It's perfect.
I mean, this was like made in heaven. In 1979, this idea of Magic and Bird was created, and so that was sort of a no-brainer. We'd have a doubleheader, It would be the Celtics playing first and the Lakers playing second, and that's the way we did it.
And when the Celtics and Lakers both reached the finals just a year into the new TV deal in 1984, it appeared the superstar investment was about to pay off.
It was huge. It was probably the biggest moment the NBA had up to that point. You had Boston and LA, East against West. It had all the elements of a classic showdown.
Including what was becoming the most inescapable element of all.
Did we know that blacks and whites were lining up, the whites with the Celtics, the blacks with... Of course we knew that.
Even in the Celtics' own backyard.
They land at Logan Airport at the '84 finals. He's getting accosted by various people who are telling him Larry's going to take him down. But this one older African-American gentleman comes up to me and goes, "Magic, I want to wish you well. Good luck. I want you to crush the Celtics." And he said, "Oh, well, where are you from?" He said, "Well, I'm from Boston." And he said, "You're from Boston and you're rooting for the Lakers? I thought everybody here was crazy about the Celtics." And he looked right at me and said, "Now, why would I root for those white boys?"
Man. God damn.
Boston, after all, was a town still scarred by the ugly busing crisis of the mid-'70s. A violent period of urban unrest during which white had been pitted against black. The resulting taint on the city nationally, coupled with a Boston roster littered with white players, affirmed to many black Americans that the Celtics were not the team for them.
Even today, people said, "You played with the Celtics, and I hated you at that time. I wanted Magic to win. I didn't want that damn Larry Bird to win. We had all these black players, but they looked at us because we had Larry Bird leading us as a team that was white."
They were perfect archetypes for what was becoming the biggest story in sports.
Amazing.
But for the real-life players, the narrative was much simpler.
It's finally going to happen. We get to go head-to-head again. It's just a matter of rolling that ball out there and let's get it on.
Welcome then to the Boston Garden and the start of the NBA World Championship Series. I'm Brent Musburger. In each of the last 4 NBA World Championship Series, either Magic or Bird has competed. But this is the first time that the two have gone head-to-head for the title.
Man, we jumped out on him.
Man, you could just feel the attention. Like, that shit was serious. Like, the crowd, it was just like, it was like they was really into it, man. That shit was, you could just feel it. It was serious. Like,
first game, and we won.
And it wasn't just about basketball, like they said, the whole racial thing, and it was very political. It wasn't just about basketball. That shit was
Boston.
And with less than a minute to go in Game 2, the Lakers were closing in on a commanding series lead.
From that point on, things began to crumble.
Down to 9 seconds. Magic holding the ball. Magic trying to work on Maxwell. Magic has still got it down to 2 seconds. 1 second. He's going to have to shoot it. He doesn't get it off. He doesn't get it off.
Cheesy Johnson dribbling the timeout. What are you doing?
The Lakers regained their stride in Game 3, only to be rudely knocked off it again in Game 4.
God damn!
Now let's watch it. Cooper and the Celtics, and now the bench is empty.
When Kurt Brownish got taken out,
Ooh, he got close.
We started fighting instead of playing.
Kareem swings the elbow, and now is yelling at Larry Bird. Jaw to jaw.
And it made us realize we were not mentally tougher than the Celtics.
Magic's just not himself.
To be sure they won't let the time run out as they did in Game 2. Harris steals the ball, and the Celtics call a timeout.
There were a number of places where, Irvin didn't do what people expected him to do.
Tied at 123. He misses the first. Johnson misses them both. Celtics want a timeout. Despondent, Magic Johnson goes to the bench. Bird, turnaround, hits.
Game 5 went to the Celtics. Game 6 to the Lakers.
Man, that
It
was
was like
a hell of
1979 all over again. Down to one game for Bird and Magic.
If everybody had to look at it, probably would have said this is going to be a 7-game series.
No, I thought we'd sweep them in 4, but just went a little bit longer. Now we just have to do it in 7.
Boy, Bird was a savage, man.
That's the only time I ever felt that. There ain't no way they're walking out here with a win.
Magicjohnson.
No way.
Lakers had several chances, and here's Larry Bird chucking down the cross. Bird. How does he do it? Johnson with the ball. The Lakers trying to cut it to 1. And he loses it. The Boston Celtics are the NBA World Champions.
Damn.
I pride myself in being the guy who's going to win it for us and deliver under pressure. And it didn't happen.
I hope he was hurting. Hope it killed him. He made some bad plays down the stretch, and nobody in there was happier than me. You know, not only winning the game makes you feel good, but just knowing the other guy's suffering, and you know he was.
I remember after the game, both he and I were in the showers crying. Stayed in there for about 35, 40 minutes. It was hard because not only had we lost to the Boston Celtics, he had lost to his nemesis, Larry Bird.
I think he just made me just like him more, you know, because he was that good. And I think you be jealous. You jealous a little bit.
Larry, does this get you even with Magic for what happened between Michigan State and Indiana State all those many years ago?
Yeah, we're professionals now, but I won this one for Terre Haute.
Well, it was a big deal, and I remember asking Quinn Buckner about it afterwards. They had a celebration in downtown Boston after they won the championship, and you know, it was unusual for Larry to have these little outbursts, as Quinn would call them. But you know, about 11:30 at night, finally he turned to Quinn. He goes, "I got him. I finally got him," and he was talking about Magic.
Finally got him. Damn.
The league was rejoicing too. Game 7 of the '84 series was one of CBS's highest-rated telecasts of the year, and the highest-rated game the NBA had ever produced.
All of a sudden, whether it was at CBS or Madison Avenue, the sports writers around the country became phenomena. What is happening here? The absolute foundation in this resurgence was the Celtics and the Lakers, Larry Bird and Magic Johnson.
But Magic was in no mood to bask in the accomplishment.
I took a media beating. Tragic Magic. This is why we say Larry Bird is better.
Damn.
It's probably the first time ever in my life I was depressed. And I didn't want people to see me. It was something I never dealt with in my life.
That particular series, that championship series, redefined his whole career because he never stopped working after that.
Magic was on a mission to prove to himself and the world that with the ball in his hands, he was still the one in control. And after his Lakers ran through the '85 season, he quickly got what he wanted, another shot at Bird and the Celtics.
They won the East, we won the West. So it's like everybody just get ready, sit back, and let's enjoy it.
But that smile belied the intensity of the clash that awaited.
Man, them boys was battling.
I had a glass of water, and any of those guys had been on fire. I would have drank the water and watched them.
They called us, you know, chokers and sissies. You know, we didn't like that, and they thought less of us. I knew they did.
In '85, we played them 4 times in exhibition season for some reason. I don't know why they scheduled that. By the 4th game, there was an all-out brawl.
They call this one of the greatest rivalries in all of sport, the Celtics and the Lakers. And if that is true, it is the most one-sided rivalry in all of sports. 8 times these two have met for the NBA championship, and 8 times the Celtics have won.
At guard, in his 6th year from Michigan State, at number 32, Magic Johnson.
But in the '85 finals, Magic changed the script. Over 6 grueling games, he masterfully controlled the pace with all-around brilliance.
The
has a triple-double again.
Behind their point guard, the Lakers finally knocked out the Celtics, winning the clinching game in the Boston Garden.
3 in 6 years, LA comes to Boston and wins the world title.
Got him.
Redemption for one Magic Johnson. It's a long year last year to wait for this moment right now.
Magic had evened the score with Bird on the NBA floor, but the significance of their rivalry and their relationship was still just taking hold.
You crazy. I said, you're crazy. I'm not shooting no commercial with Larry. So I said, okay, what, we're gonna shoot it in LA?
I would never went to LA to film it.
Well, where are we gonna shoot it?
Had convinced Magic and Bird to film a sneaker ad together in the summer of '85. A question remained. How would the two hated rivals on the court get along off of it?
I don't know how he's gonna react. I don't know how I'm gonna react. We didn't even shake hands, so how are we gonna do a commercial together?
The ad was to be filmed at the home Bird had built for his mom. It featured a full-length basketball court, the day's first location.
So they say, okay, you're playing one-on-one, and I'm looking at Larry, and he's looking at me like, is this real? Are we playing? Because, you know, this is Magic and Bird.
I could just hear Larry, you know, starting in on, well, you bring it to the basket, and I'm going to send it 30 rows up.
So the guy was like, no, not like that. A fun game. We were both like, oh, okay. Like, like you can see this relief coming over both of our faces.
That brief détente led to the next stage, dialogue.
We sat down next to each other. How was your summer? Oh, it's going good. How was yours? It's going great. He said, man, it's a nice spread you got.
And he's asked me, is this where you play? I said, yeah, I play here if it's not windy. If it's raining or windy, I go to the gym. But this is where I do all my work.
I see that tractor. You work on the tractor? He said, man, I work on this tractor every day. Larry Bird work on a tractor? He said, yeah.
It's just them two walking and talking, and every once in a while they'd stop and one of them would say something, and then they'd start laughing.
Then they said, okay, break, it's lunch break time. I was going to my trailer. He said, no, my mother has prepared lunch for us up at the house.
We went up to the house and we sat down there and we talked, and my mom, my brothers thought the world of him.
His mother was so nice, making sure I had enough to eat. I just saw my mother. It was crazy.
He charmed her. You can see it. But that's Magic. He makes everybody feel welcome and warm, and he's a con man.
And while Magic charmed Georgia Bird, it was someone else who intrigued her son.
He met Irvin at lunch.
Irvin is a good dude. I like Irvin a lot better than Magic.
I was just so happy to finally be Irvin with him, because Magic was like, I don't know if I want to get to know this guy. But Irvin got a chance to talk about family, how he grew up. We just became two relaxed guys.
Yeah, see, I think like with Bird, I think he just don't really care for all that flashy Hollywood type stuff, you know what I'm saying? That's why what he just said, he was like, I like Irvin. You know what I'm saying? But Magic, nah, not so much, too flashy, too Hollywood. But Irvin, yeah, because they're kind of similar, you know what I'm saying? Magic is, he ain't from a town as small as Bird, but Lansing, you know, that's not a big city. You know, he grew up with two parents, you know what I'm saying? You know, a lot of conservative values, you know, growing up in his household. So they got some similarities right there. So like that made a lot of sense. He's like, yeah, I like Irvin, but Magic, nah, too Hollywood for me.
Just talking.
That day was great. It was a great day. Beautiful day.
Still, for Bird, ever the competitor, that's all it was. Just one day.
Magic thinks the next year, okay, well, now we're great friends. So, you know, after the game, we're going to go out, we're going to have a beer. And Larry's like, no, you're right. I know you better. You're a good guy, but I still don't want anything to do with you.
He's a happy-go-lucky guy. If me and him got to be really good friends, go out on the court, he could still play the same game. I couldn't. I mean, that's just the way it is.
But when the ad hit the airwaves, for others, the perception changed.
I saw those limousines going through the cornfields, and I said, no. They didn't sell themselves out.
I heard Converse made a pair of Bird shoes for last year's MVP. Yep. But they made a pair of Magic shoes for this year's MVP.
Okay, Magic, show me what you got.
Well, this is really a business thing.
The Bird shoe, the Magic shoe.
And maybe that's where the business thing started to get bigger and began to trump who they both really were.
It polarized the whole idea of lunch bucket versus Hollywood.
That's before Nike was Nike wasn't even heard of, you know what I'm saying? That's like, I mean, it was heard of, but that's when Converse was bigger than Nike. But now, nobody wears Converse, you know?
White versus black just cemented all the differences between them.
Kids weren't wearing black gym shoes because they didn't want to be associated with the Larry Bird camp. You wore your white Converse.
The basketball rivals had morphed into cultural warriors, and race, more than ever, had become an unavoidable part of the conversation.
Yo!
But nothing about Bird and Magic had ever been as simple as black and white.
One of the big reasons this rivalry became so emblematic of so many things is because it was an easy dichotomy for people to understand. But it's crazy to simplify it as saying white people like Bird and black people like Magic because 13% of the country is black. But it wasn't like 87% of basketball fans preferred the Celtics.
Who's your favorite basketball player? Magic Johnson. Who's your favorite movie star? Eddie Murphy. Pina, all you ever talk about is nigga this and nigga that. And all your favorite people are so-called niggas. It's different. Magic, Eddie, Prince are not niggas. I mean, they're not black. I mean, let me explain myself.
Has the N-word ever been used by a white person to describe Irvin? I doubt it.
But as Magic enjoyed his image as a crossover star, it was Bird, the one-time great white hope, who had further emerged as the polarizing racial figure, due in part to that era's increasingly conservative political climate.
The rolling back institutionally of the achievements of the civil rights movement were going on apace from about 1975 on. But the triumph of the movement that rolled it back took place in the 1980s. And I think there was people who were very aware in the black community of what was going on. And I think there was a lot of sublimated frustration. And I think one of the ways it got sublimated was into basketball. And I think Larry, through no fault of his own, was the receptacle within which the lingering resentments somehow floated.
And after Bird led the Celtics to the championship in 1986, his third in the pros, winning his third straight MVP award in the process, the resentment grew.
I always felt that the press was biased in favor of Larry Bird. It always felt to me like they were gonna make Larry the hero. You know, you'd see somebody score and Larry would be in a cast in a suit on the bench and they'd say, Larry Bird made that possible a couple weeks ago when he told that guy he could do it and he just did it. They gonna get his motherfucker the assist and he not in the game?
Not to be racist, but we have a white guy who's the best in the world. It's predominantly a black sport now. And you got a guy like Larry Bird who can't run, who can't jump, but can do everything out there.
That don't mean nothing to me.
He was
It
excited.
don't mean anything to me. It never has.
That boy was excited.
I don't know why. I mean, am I doing something wrong here?
Bird may have sought to avoid the conversation entirely, but the more he won, the less he could escape it.
Now there's a steal by Bird. Underneath the DJ, lays it in. What a play by Bird.
In 1987, after Boston beat the Detroit Pistons to advance to the finals for the fourth straight year, Pistons rookie Dennis Rodman called Bird overrated because he was white. His teammate Isaiah Thomas then chimed in with some thoughts of his own.
I think Larry is a very, very good basketball player. I think he's an exceptional talent. But I'd have to agree with Rodman. If he was black, he'd be just another good guy.
I can remember in the locker room, I think it was Jack McMullen came up to me and said, Isaiah just said, boom, 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 boom. And I go, so?
He didn't care. He didn't care. Everybody else around him cared very deeply in the days and weeks, as it turned out, ahead.
I mean,
man, this is very interesting, very entertaining, and this is some real history right here, man. This is deep. I didn't know it was this deep. Like I didn't know. Like I thought Magic and Larry was like. I thought they was actually like friends. Like when it was not like good friends, but I didn't know. Well, Bird. It was more on Bird's end. I didn't know Bird really disliked Magic that much. I think it was more like a competitive thing. Like I don't think he like hated Magic. I think it was just like, well, I know that's the guy I'm gonna have to face in the finals, so you know, it's just a thing. It's like it's a mental thing to get himself prepared for when he play him. So, but man, it was deep with the whole the racial stuff going on, or the politics, the rivalry. Man, that's a hell of a story. But I'm gonna see y'all next time for part 3, and